Everyone says they are afraid of failure, afraid of not reaching their goals, afraid of losing, afraid of not being good enough, afraid of others laughing at them, afraid of facing the reality that they've tried their best but it still wasn't enough. The fear of failure is something everyone acknowledges, everyone understands, everyone empathizes with. It's logical, it's easy to say, it's easy to admit. But there's something else. Something far fewer people admit to. Something even fewer people realize, and that's the fear of success. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? Sounds like one of those cheap motivational sayings like, oh, you're afraid of success, that's why you're not rich yet, that kind of thing. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a real psychological phenomenon, deep and far more complex than you think. There are many people living with this fear without ever knowing it. They think they're procrastinating because they're lazy. They think they're not ready yet. They think they need more time. But the truth is, deep in their subconscious, they're running away from success. And here's the paradox, that fear isn't loud, isn't clear like the fear of failure. It's silent, it's subtle, it disguises itself under hundreds of other reasonable excuses. It makes you sabotage yourself without you even realizing it. Today, we're going to dissect this psychology, not to find a way to fix it, not to offer advice or methods at all, but simply to understand it. To see what's really happening inside our heads when we stand at the threshold of success. Before talking about why people fear success, we need to look at the signs first. Because this fear never just shows up and says, hey, it's me, I'm afraid of success. No, it disguises itself very cleverly. It appears in the form of seemingly harmless behaviors, seemingly reasonable excuses, and if you're not paying attention, you'll never recognize it. Imagine you're working on an important project, a project that could change your career. You've put effort into it for weeks, months, and now you're almost done. Just a little more and it's complete. Just a little more to submit it, to show others, to bring it into the light. And right at that moment, you suddenly lose interest. You suddenly feel tired. You suddenly have 100 other things to do. You scroll on your phone, you clean the house, you watch movies, you do anything except that final task. You tell yourself, I'm so tired, I'll rest a bit then continue. But that bit stretches into a day, a week, a month. Or another example, you're offered a higher position at the company, more responsibility, more money, more opportunities. This is what you've been saying you wanted all along. But when the opportunity actually comes, you start finding reasons. I don't have enough experience, this job is too stressful, I still have so much to learn, it's not the right time, and you decline, you say no, you let the opportunity pass. Or, even more subtle, you accept but then you work half-heartedly, you don't give your all, you let small mistakes happen, you sabotage yourself unconsciously. And when things don't work out, you feel secretly relieved deep down. You can say, oh, so I wasn't really ready, and return to the safe zone. This isn't laziness. This isn't lack of discipline. This is a much deeper psychological mechanism. This is fear disguised as caution, as humility, as not the right time. And the danger here is, it seems reasonable. Who doesn't want to prepare more thoroughly? Who doesn't want to be certain before taking the next step? Sounds very logical. But when you look at the pattern, when you look at it happening repeatedly, right when you're about to step through the door of success, then you'll see this isn't random, this is systematic. This is how the subconscious protects you from what it considers dangerous, and that dangerous thing is success itself. So why? Why does something we keep saying we want become something we run away from? To understand this, we need to dig deeper, because the fear of success isn't simple. It's a tangled mess of many different fears, overlapping each other, creating an invisible barrier. The first layer is the fear of losing yourself. Your whole life, you've been the person who's trying. You're the person who's struggling. You're the person with dreams but hasn't achieved them yet. How long has that identity followed you? 10 years? 20 years? A lifetime? It's become part of who you are. And now, if you succeed, that identity will disappear. You're no longer the person trying. So who are you? A new version of yourself that you've never known, never lived, never understood. And that unknown about yourself it's scarier than you think. The human mind prefers familiarity over goodness. It prefers to stay with the self it knows, even if that self is suffering, rather than jump to a new self. The second layer is about the people around you. When you succeed, you rise higher, you have more. You experience things that people around you don't have, and that distance appears. You think about family, the people you grew up with. If you rise above, you're no longer in the same place with them, and that guilt eats away at you. Am I abandoning them? Am I betraying my roots? You look up at the mountain peak and see the people standing there. There are fewer of them. The higher you go, the emptier it gets, the more successful, the more lonely. And your brain, from ancient times, was designed to live in herds. Being separated from the group means death. So that instinct whispers, don't go too far. Stay here with everyone, it's safer. The third layer is about being seen. When you're mediocre, you're invisible. No one pays attention. You can live quietly without being judged by anyone. But when you succeed, you light up. Everyone looks. And when everyone looks, they evaluate, they comment, they criticize. Some admire, but some are jealous. You become a target. And the pressure of being constantly observed, of having to maintain an image, of not being allowed to be weak, it crushes you. Down below, you can make mistakes and no one cares. But up there, everything you do is seen. And your brain calculates it's safer to stay in the shadows. And the final layer is about responsibility. When you haven't succeeded yet, people's expectations of you are low. You're free to try, to fail, to start over without pressure. But when you succeed once, now everyone knows you can. They expect you to do it again, do it better, maintain it. And you wonder, was this time just luck? Can I do it again? Responsibility doesn't just come from others, it comes from yourself. You put pressure on yourself, and that burden never ends. Each success is another layer of bricks placed on your shoulders. Your brain sees that before you even step in. It sees the price to pay in advance, and it says, better not to start at all. And this is where it gets truly complex. Because the human mind never tells you the truth about these fears. It never says outright, I'm afraid of success. No, it's far more subtle than that. It hides that fear behind reasons that sound completely reasonable, completely logical, completely right. You're preparing to submit an important project? The brain says, it's not perfect yet. Need to edit more, need to check again one more time. Sound like a perfectionist attitude, doesn't it? Sounds responsible, doesn't it? But actually, it's fear. Fear of that moment when you press send. Fear of that moment when there's no turning back. You're offered a big opportunity. The brain says, not the right time. I don't have enough experience. Need to learn more, prepare more. Sounds humble, doesn't it? Sounds cautious, doesn't it? But actually, it's fear. Fear of having to step into a role you're not familiar with. Fear of having to abandon the safe position you're standing in. The danger here is these reasons sound so right. Who doesn't want to perfect their work? Who doesn't want to prepare carefully before taking on big responsibility? Who doesn't want to be certain before taking the next step? These are good qualities. These are signs of a careful, thorough, serious person. So how do you distinguish what's genuine caution from disguised fear? The answer lies in the pattern, lies in when it happens. If you always, repeatedly, find reasons to slow down right at the decisive moments, right when you're about to step through the door, then that's not random. If you always need a little more time, always need to perfect it a bit more, always not ready yet right when opportunity arrives, then that's not caution. That's avoidance. And the even deeper psychological part is, the brain does this to protect you. It's not the enemy. It's not deliberately sabotaging you. It genuinely believes it's keeping you safe. Because in its perception, success is dangerous, change is dangerous, stepping into the unknown is dangerous. So it creates barriers, it creates reasons, it creates doubts. Not to make you miserable, but to keep you in the familiar zone, the safe zone, the zone it understands and can control. That's why you can simultaneously want success while sabotaging yourself. That's why you can both say, I need this, while finding every way not to achieve it. Two parts of the brain are pulling you in two different directions. The conscious part wants to move forward. The subconscious part wants to stay. And most of the time, the subconscious wins, not because it's stronger, but because it's sneakier. It doesn't attack head on. It makes you defeat yourself while you still think it's the right decision. And now, the question is, what if you stay in this state forever? If you keep repeating the cycle of wanting but not daring, of preparing endlessly but never starting, of standing before the door but never stepping through, what's the price of that? And this isn't a question about wasting potential or those empty words. This is a question about what's really happening inside a person when they live like this year after year. First, there's what I call the unlived life. Have you ever thought about the things you didn't do? Not the things you wanted to do but didn't have the means, but the things you could have done, had the opportunity to do, but you backed away. The projects you didn't complete, the opportunities you declined, the relationships you didn't pursue, the paths you didn't take. They're there in your head like ghosts, other versions of your life that could have happened. And the more years pass, the more these ghosts accumulate. They're not loud. They're just there, silently, reminding you of something you didn't dare become. And the second thing, deeper, is the endless internal conflict. You think not succeeding is more comfortable? No, it's not comfortable at all, because a part of you still wants it. That part doesn't die. It's just suppressed. Every day you wake up with two voices in your head. One voice, just try, just do it. This time will be different. Another voice, don't, not the right time, too dangerous. And you live forever in that tug of war. You negotiate with yourself every day. Will I do it today? Will I dare today? Then you find reasons to postpone. Then tomorrow starts all over again. The exhaustion of that isn't physical tiredness, it's mental exhaustion. Tired from having to live with a person you don't respect. Tired from knowing you're avoiding but not knowing how else to be. Tired from seeing yourself in the mirror and feeling like a stranger. That's not living. That's existing in a state suspended between wanting and fearing, never getting to rest. And finally, there's the most silent price. Potential dies with you. You know you can do something. Deep inside you know. There's a version of you that's stronger, more confident, living more fully, but that version never comes into the light. It's locked in the cage of fear. Year after year, it knocks on the door. It reminds you. But gradually, the knocking gets quieter. Gradually, you get used to not listening. Gradually, the distance between who you are and who you could be becomes too far. And one day, when you look back, you no longer ask, what if I had done it? You only know that you didn't. And the opportunity is gone. Not because it didn't come, but because when it came, you had closed the door. So, we've gone through everything from the seemingly harmless signs to the deep layers of fear, to how the brain hides it with seemingly reasonable excuses, then to the price paid for living forever in that state. And now, you might be waiting for me to tell you the solution. You might be waiting for concrete steps, methods, advice on how to overcome this fear. But I won't say it. Not because I don't want to help, but because that's not the purpose of this. The purpose is for you to see, for you to understand what's happening inside you. Because most people go through their entire lives never knowing what they're afraid of. They just feel stuck. They just feel they can't move forward. And they blame circumstances, luck, timing. But the truth is, the battlefield is right inside their heads. The fear of success is real. It's not something you imagine. It's not weakness or lack of willpower. It's a deep, complex psychological mechanism interwoven from multiple layers of fear about self, about relationships, about attention, about responsibility. It exists because success truly changes everything. It doesn't just change external circumstances. It changes who you are. It changes how you see yourself. It changes how others see you. It changes what's expected of you. And perhaps that's exactly what's most frightening. Not failure, not losing, not being good enough, but irreversible change. The fact that once you step through that door, you can't go back to being the old person. You have to live with the new version of yourself. and you don't know what that version will be like. You don't know if you like it. You don't know if it will be worth it. That uncertainty, that lack of control, it taps into human survival instinct. And that's why some people choose to stay, not because they don't want success, but because they're afraid of losing what they have, even when what they have doesn't make them happy.